Hi, this is Carl the Cobra Froch, and you're watching Lights Out.
This is Faisal for Lights Out, proudly sponsored by Spartans Law, and I'm outside the iconic York Hall, and I'm delighted to be joined by former world champion George Groves. George, good evening, mate. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good.
Firstly, George, thank you very much for giving us your time. I mean, I was just on my way to get a bite to eat. I see you out here. I thought I'd try my luck, and luckily you came through for us. George, I've got to say, I'm enjoying watching every minute of the the podcast that you've got going on. I never expected you to start your own podcast, but it's very interesting. I'm enjoying it. I've watched the episode with Carl Froch. Firstly, talk to us, what was the reason behind you starting like your own podcast and getting into the sort of podcast world?
Yeah, I think it's the future. Everyone's started a podcast, but the company that I run the podcast for me, Crowd Network, they've had a lot of successful podcasts. They reached out. They wanted to start a boxing one. They wanted to use me. I'd been recommended by some of my boxing peers, which was sweet, which was nice. So yeah, we started it. It was something that I knew I'd enjoy, and so far so good. Like, we're getting good reviews, good feedback. We've had great guests, and we've still got lots to come. We had Carl Froch on last week, so that was a big episode for us. It was great. I appreciate Carl, and I'm glad people are enjoying the podcast.
I mean, people still watch those press conferences. The gloves are off between you and Carl. I mean, you've done a sort of a UK tour and you've done a podcast. How do you guys manage to keep it so civil, given how intense that rivalry was between you and Carl many, many years ago?
Yeah, no, it was tough, but it's 9 years ago now since the first fight. So yeah, as time goes on, you soften a bit. And Carl's all right. I like Carl. I've got a lot of time for Carl. I get his humour. He gets me a little bit more as well now. So yeah, no, we don't clash, and it's humbling. It's lovely that people still want to hear the story. It was intense. It was a genuine rivalry. It was genuine hatred at points. So people bought into it, and I think a lot of people are happy that we're buddies now. But they do appreciate that it was real, and it's still a little bit shocking and out of place for them to see us together. So that's fun as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, it was such an iconic rivalry. It's definitely helped British boxing get to where it is right now. Would you say that's the case as well? That rivalry between yourself and Carl?
Oh fuck! It's you.
It's all right, come on in. Don't worry about it.
Oh shit!
You recognise it? How you doing? You good?
I'm good, man.
Smile. When you did that, I was like, you fucking know
I
that.
was wondering, like, I looked at you and was like, what the hell was that doing in your head?
You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm fucking coaching now, like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, man.
At the
No, Churchill's.
Okay.
So,
Where's that?
Waterloo, innit?
Alright. Coaching amateurs, pros,
Pros, I'm doing pros. Well, one of the fighters fighting today. And yeah.
You got a fight today,
yeah? So, yeah,
enjoying it?
Yeah, man. Fucking better get punched in the face, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh shit! I keep seeing your television. I'm like, jeez, George. Big laugh now, man.
Yeah, how'd you brother do?
Yeah, he's okay. He's fighting on the 17th, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bournemouth.
Oh right, yeah.
That,
It's a nice show, isn't it?
so he's doing okay. Nice seeing you though, man.
Yeah, I'll find you in a minute anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's all right, don't worry
That's
about it.
Obed Bwango, I can't even say his last name.
Too many faces in
Former
boxing.
star of the amateur games. I don't know what happened to him, why he didn't make it through to the pros. I turned pro, we used to be on the England squad together. So yeah, I don't know what, that's the first time I've seen him in a long time, so yeah.
It's always good to see an old face, right?
Yeah, definitely.
As I was saying, Carl, I mean, when we look back at that rivalry, sorry, George, my bad. When we look back on that rivalry between you and Carl, would you say it's probably the main reason why British boxing is where it is today?
I don't know, it's not my decision, you know. It was a pivotal point in British boxing. It was a post-war attendance record for boxing, 80,000 people.
As Carl likes to remind us.
That's the catchphrase now. I don't like stealing this catchphrase, but yeah, 80,000 people, 80 genuine thousand people there. It was packed to the rafters. Could have probably sold it twice over. And yeah, it's it reached out to a wider community. But there's fights and there's fighters that have done that before and after. So yeah, you can't take all the credit for where boxing is today. And maybe, I don't know, maybe boxing was a little bit better, and it's go through waves, you know, where there's a lot of entertainment, a lot of excitement, a lot of world champions, a lot of big fights, and then you have to, you know, go through a bit of a dip. But no, it was a crazy time for me. You know, an amazing time. A bit of a blur, really, when I think back now. But I can happily say that I'm proud of, you know, my career and my journey, and being part of. Even though I lost them two mega fights that, you know, lots of people still remember and still like to, you know, reminisce about.
Well, definitely, if you want to look back at one of the most fierce rivals in British boxing, yours and Carl is definitely up there. Announcement came through to us last night that Chris Eubank Jr., a guy who you also fought, his next fight will be at the back end of January 2023 against Liam Smith. A very exciting fight. What did you make of the announcement, George?
Yeah, I know it's been in the pipe work. I know they've been talking about Liam, and I'm not. Yes, I mean, it's a good fight. Liam Smith's a good fighter, a really good fighter. You know, former world champion, now up at middleweight. You know, he's a wily old pro now, and so is Eubank to a certain degree. You know, I think I'm not sure whether this is put one of them in line to fight for a world title, or whether it's just a fight for a fight's sake that they can put on. I'm sure they would have liked to have got out the other side of Christmas. Maybe time was against them. January is usually a tough sell, especially a pay-per-view. I can't remember the last time there was a UK pay-per-view in January. So I'm sure it'll be a great show. They'll probably have to put packed, exciting undercard. But it should be a real good fight to watch. So you know, I'd say Eubank's probably the favourite, just because he's boxed at a bigger weight for a bit longer. But the schooling is with Smith. You know, he's a amateur international, and you know, he's took him he's had to go right through the every level in the pros before winning a world title. So yeah, that'd be a real good fight.
I mean, that fight between yourself and Chris was 4 years ago, and obviously you put on a very impressive performance. I still watched that last round, still look at how your shoulder popped out, but you sort of kind of like paved the way for fighters on how to perform against Chris Eubank Jr. And as I mentioned, that fight was 4 years ago. Have you seen any improvements from Chris since that fight with yourself, since he's teamed up with Roy Jones Jr.?
I'm not sure because he was on a real momentum swing when he was fighting me. He was like flying high, and people were really backing and buying into him. And since then, he's worked with Roy Jones Jr. and some of the stuff that you could see that he'd been working with Jones. It seemed like it was going to take a little bit longer to bed in, and then I don't know if he's still working with Jones, because I feel like he was out of the picture for the Conor Ben fight. Was he going to come back? I don't know. Maybe Junior's just at that stage where he's maybe not chasing world titles anymore, or chasing, you know, the big fights. He's just chasing fight by fight, whatever comes up. Conor Ben fight fell through, so what next? It's Smith. Smith's a good fight, and it's on pay-per-view, so there should be some money involved. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see a bit more from Chris, to be honest, and I'm not sure when it will come. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe he'll have to step up, as I say, in January. So we'll see.
I mean, he is a fighter that's, you know, fought for world titles before, obviously, against yourself, and he's been involved in big fights. He's held the IBO title, but how important is it for Chris's career before he does call it a day, whenever that will be? Is it that he gets to a sort of a WBC or just any other version apart from the IBO?
I'm not sure. It's all down to the individual. Maybe he's happy. You know, IBO is obviously a world title, but it's not in the major four. The major four is what, you know, most people will consider a full world title. So he doesn't have one of them, and will he retire without one and be content? I'm not sure, but maybe he will. Maybe he'll look back and say, well, I headline pay-per-view fights and was involved in big fights, and that'll be enough for him. He would have earned good money and stuff like that. So maybe that is enough. You never know. It's all down to the individual. Personally, you know, I felt like I had to win a world title to leave the sport happy. But not everyone may not be the same, so We'll see.
Just want to get your thoughts on the Conor Ben situation. There still hasn't been any sort of path that's been cleared and what happens next with Conor. But what have you made of everything so far? And George, your honest thoughts on why this process is taking as long as it has?
I'm not sure. I haven't, to be honest. I'm not up to date with. Once the fight was cancelled, and then the immediate aftermath. I'm not sure on any of the details since then. So I don't know. I don't know where we're at. So I don't have any comment.
One final one, because I don't want to keep you too long. I'm pretty sure you want to get inside and watch the football. Fury versus Chisora 3 next weekend. The $1 million question is what does Derek Chisora have to do to beat Tyson Fury?
You'll have to have really high intensity. He can fight at a high intensity, and you'll have to do that against Fury. Obviously, he doesn't want to walk onto any big shots. You have to close the distance and let his hands go. If he can dig him downstairs and have an effect, that might stand him in good stead. But he's a massive underdog, Chisora. I think, speaking about it the other day on the podcast, I think it'll rank higher than any other heavyweight upset in recent memory. So he's got it all to do. But good luck to both fighters. Hopefully they put on a real good show.
George, a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck in the future with the podcast. And thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Cheers, mate.